Hey children, are you ready for today's story? Let's take a deep breath together and get ready to discover something amazing. Jesus on the cross. Mark 15, Luke 23 and John 19. In the Roman Empire, crucifixion was the harshest punishment, reserved for rebellious slaves and the worst criminals. Roman citizens were spared such a death. But on this day, Jesus, though innocent, was condemned to die this cruel way. Thick iron nails were driven through his hands and feet, pinning him to a wooden crossbeam. The cross was lifted and dropped into a socket in the ground, leaving him to suffer the slow agony of heat, thirst, and suffocation. That day, 3 crosses stood on the hill of Golgotha. By a M, all were raised. Jesus hung on the center cross. The soldiers, having completed their gruesome task, sat down and began gambling for his clothes, as they laughed and tossed dice at his feet. Jesus looked down not with anger, but with compassion. "Father, forgive them," he prayed. "They don't know what they're doing." Religious leaders arrived, sneering and scoffing. "He saved others, but he can't save himself," they mocked. The crowd joined in, jeering at the one they once welcomed with palm branches. One of the criminals hanging beside Jesus joined in the insults. "Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us too." But the other criminal rebuked him. "We deserve this," he said, "but this man has done nothing wrong." Then he turned to Jesus and pleaded, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus answered with a promise full of hope. "Today, you will be with me in paradise." Nearby, a small group of Jesus' followers had gathered, most of them women. His mother Mary stood there, heartbroken. Seeing her, Jesus turned to his beloved disciple John and whispered, "Take care of her." To Mary, he said, "He is your son now." From that moment, John took her into his home. At noon, the sky suddenly darkened. For 3 long hours, the sun hid its face, and the world seemed to mourn. Jesus bore the weight of humanity's sin alone. At around p.m., he lifted his voice in victory. "It is finished." Then, with one final breath, he surrendered his spirit. A wealthy man named Joseph of Arimathea, a secret follower of Jesus, asked Pilate for permission to bury him. Another man, Nicodemus, who had once come to Jesus under the cover of night, came to help. Together, they gently wrapped Jesus' body in clean linens and placed it in Joseph's own tomb, carved from solid rock. Several women followed them to see where Jesus was laid. Afterward, they left quietly, hearts heavy with grief and eyes full of tears. The story of the cross teaches us about the depths of God's love, the power of forgiveness, and the hope of redemption. Jesus endured immense suffering and died a humiliating death, taking the punishment for humanity's sins. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share your lessons with your friends. I will see you next time for another fantastic story.